Hello and welcome to our daily sketching routine. It is Sunday, August the 17th, 2025, and today's topic will be detailing this tiger drawing. But before we begin, welcome back if you're returning, and welcome if you're new to the channel. I sketch and post every day, and I use a timer to stay focused and to build a habit. I'll start a 10-minute timer. So this took me about an hour. I left it sort of open like this. Sometimes that's kind of a good thing, especially for a sketchbook, because it helps you to see the steps and everything. But yeah, to begin with, I will put a before picture. So it's from yesterday. I'll link to yesterday's video where I basically did a step-by-step, although it's more of like a demo rather than a tutorial. When it's a demo, it's kind of partly experimental, partly just to show like how I do something, and it doesn't mean that it's the right way to do it. It's just a way to do it, like an approach. Sometimes that can be helpful. When I was learning stuff, I didn't have YouTube videos, so it would just be books, and so it would usually show a before and then kind of something like this. And it would be kind of difficult sometimes to figure out how it worked. I'll go over the materials. Predominantly I used this Papermate felt tip pen, and I call it like a medium point, but I guess it's sort of like a 0.7 or something. So that's what this look. And so that's the importance of sketching. So this is like a gesture. So in yesterday's video, I did like the gesture of it, but then I also talked about the proportion, and I also talked about basic drawing, such as these forms, which is the construction of it. Again, that's like an approach, partly because this is a study. I don't draw these very often, tigers and stuff, and animals in general. I draw mostly characters. So we'll kind of go into that, but part of it is, yeah, like the familiarity, but then also it's the approach to it, and the tools that you use is also part of the style. I have a Sharpie pen, which is a fine point, so this would probably be like a 0.5 or whatever, something like that, but something smaller than this line. So I have like a brush. So for like the stripes, I mainly wanted to do this. You could have just kind of went in that direction where you just kind of did like the stripes, because sometimes like drawings of tigers are like that, like ink paintings kind of stuff. And then I also went in with like a white paint marker. Again, it's like a Sharpie creative marker, but something that's like a white to get this look right here. Now, part of that was because I was fixing things. So like I had covered up the eyes, for example, but it's not a bad look. So partly it's to kind of fix mistakes, but also for like the look of it. Now, there's certain areas, such as this part of the tiger, that I'll leave as like the white of the paper if I can. So I would have done that here too. Like if I could have left the white of the paper, I probably would have just done that, but it's not like a bad look, but there is like an effect. So when I do this, it starts to look more like mixed medium. So some of these sketch lines, I'm just going to go ahead and lay down some tone, just so that it's not like the white of the paper, or although you can see that it's showing. And then the technique is called cross-hatching. And I like to say to build it up gradually, meaning think about, okay, I'm going to lay down some tone and then just kind of leave it and keep building up everything so that you can have this sort of look where even if it's not completely finished, it still looks okay. Like there's a progression to it. So that's how I got like this. It's like the half tone. For the stripes, I have like a brush pen. I also have this is like a bigger brush pen, but I'm not really using this one because I picked this up the other day. So it's like a finer point, but like brush pen. Once you get to like the details, so for example, I'm using reference, but it's not like exact, like the stripes aren't exact. Although if it is a study, it's good to kind of figure out like what makes the thing look that way. You could probably tell that it's from the reference if you had the thing, but I'm not like trying to make it like stripe for stripe exact. Part of this will be incorporating the sketch lines also. So when I was sketching it, I was kind of keeping that in mind, that it's a tiger, so some of these lines can turn into the stripe. So for example, like right here. Now if I wasn't going to use a brush, because maybe you don't have this, or maybe you just want it to have this look, it would be kind of, let's say like I'm just going to turn that into the stripes. And that's what I mean about not trying to copy the reference too much, because that's just from sketching. There's different approaches to it. I might even go back and refine these lines a little bit more, but just for example, I'm going to take this one and just again build it up gradually. So just kind of darkening in, making it look nicer. That's what gives it the detail, is because it starts to have a more refined shape to it. So same with this, I might decide to turn that into a, so I'm just going over the line in a more definite way. Same with this, I'll turn that into a stripe. So just being more definite about it versus sort of these searching kind of sketchy lines. And yeah, I'm looking off of the reference, but also making the drawing look good. It starts to go away from the reference, and the drawing starts to, or like the subject, it wants to look a certain way. I might adjust that. It doesn't look exactly like the reference, so if I'm not sure, I'm just gonna do this and just kind of clean up. Let's say that you do have a brush pen. In that case, you want the brush pen to be like the main look of it. An example, let's just take this kind of stripe right here. So part of it is this, figuring out that, and just making the brush, I mean, you can go over it again because part of it is, and just making that be like the look of it. So same with this right here. So you would have had to draw that if you were using like a fine point pen. Let that just be like the stripe. The subject matter lends itself to that. So I drew that like with a pen. I had to go in and draw that shape. But with the brush, you can just do this. And apply like pressure. You can go from light to dark, or like from kind of like this, like light, darker, kind of just play around with it. I mean, once you get used to the subject, you might not need all of these construction lines. It's not bad. I mean, it's good to be able to construct something. So like right here, I'm just going to incorporate that construction line and make it into a stripe, whether it's in there or not in the reference. So I'm just gonna, I would just start like that. And then the next thing could be smaller details. If you go like this, it'll start to look a little bit more like fur. But yeah, that's what detail is. Just kind of look at the reference. So like right here, for example, it blends. Like there's, that part is white, and then this is like the orange fur. So I'm just gonna, again, incorporate that sketch line right there and just use this fine point. And then for the white fur, I'll just kind of do this. Again, this is just an approach. It's not the only way, obviously. And then if it's darker right here, I would just push it. It starts to go away from the reference and kind of have its own look. Part of that is because, yeah, like I'm cleaning up the sketch lines, but I wouldn't overwork it. I would just do something like this, and then if it looks good, I would just leave it. I wouldn't sit there and fiddle with it. One thing is, for example, like the whiskers. So part of that is, if I'm not going to use a background, because I'm not sure, because like with this, to kind of fix this part, I might actually just kind of draw like the ground. I haven't made up my mind. So that depends, because if I do the background, I might make the whiskers, because they're like white. They're picking up, well, I guess they're just white whiskers, but also like picking up highlight or whatever. I'd probably just leave that for last, and it may be something to use like the white paint for. To me, like that's like fine detail. And I wouldn't even mess with it like right now. I would maybe like go in with, because I can kind of see where that would be, like right there. I would leave that for last. So let me do a few more stripes for you. So I have this line. That may or may not be in the reference. It kind of is. So I'm just gonna go like this. So somewhat like lines are like this. It follows the the form, like the muscles. And yeah, it's details, so be patient with it. The tip of the tail is like this. But yeah, that's the nice thing about these brush pens. You can get like kind of the finished look. Alright, so if you're following along with the 4-week commitment to sketching, this is Sunday of week 2 is complete if you're doing the 4-week commitment to sketching. So yeah, that'll be it for today. Thank you for joining me for our daily sketching routine, and if you enjoy these videos, please support the channel. I appreciate it, and until next time, keep on sketching.